record. So, okay, Julia, so let's go. So tell us about how your book idea shifted.
Okay. So it shifted because I wasn't on the call last week, but the last call I was on, I was in Liverpool. And I remember I had I did have quite a shift in that call about rebalance me and healing you. But just something wasn't there. So there was just, and I think I felt this for a while, which is why it's been like 20 years since this is actually...
You haven't hit the bullseye yet. You haven't figured out exactly what you want.
No. And I do think there was a sticking point in rewriting and going back over my story of ill health and all the kind of connections to that. And I think that has been the sticking point, but I just couldn't kind of work it. It just felt like, I don't really quite know. But anyway, I just happened to message Iona afterwards and just said, thanks ever so much for sort of, your feedback about the title, and, I've not been feeling it, and, but, thanks for your support, because, she was was really great in there as well.
That's what's so good, right? About a good group.
Absolutely.
Oh, Isabel's with us. Awesome.
Yeah.
Bonjour, ma belle. How are you?
Oh.
Hi, everyone. I'm trying to catch up, the train again and going back to it because I've been out for a while.
Yeah.
Okay. There's always a place for you.
Yeah.
So for now, I'm just going to Julia's just giving us a little bit of background about how her book idea shifted.
Yeah.
So anyway, so after the call 2 weeks ago, I messaged Iona just to say thank you for kind of confirming the title and, just sort of that little bit of support, and that I'd been feeling a bit, and she said, do you want to jump on a call? Do you want to have a chat? So I was like, and it was 9:45 or something. And I said, really? I said, God, that would be cool. So we jumped on a call, and she just really was, obviously I'd been posting the images of the latest. I think I might have just posted somebody in the group that I'd drawn. I can't remember exactly. And she said, what's going on for you? What's sticking? And I said, I don't really know whether this is the right time for me to write about this, about rebalancing. And I said, because really what I want to do at the moment is just draw people and paint them. And we started talking a bit about that and about what happens and how that I'm in my zone when I'm there and how I'm channeling. And then she said, then I said to her, look, I've been doing this for 10 years really. When I first went to France, because I was made redundant, and we decided to just up and go, and we lived in France for 6 months. And I then was working in a health food shop after I came back, and this couple came in who were getting married the following year, and they said that the lady in the wedding shop has told us that there's an artist who works in this health food shop who draws people, and we've seen some of her canvases and we really like the way she's drawing them, and we'd love to know if she would draw our wedding guests as wedding favors. So I was like, oh, that's me. So we're like, oh my God, we've been in like a few times, we've never caught you, and we love your canvases, but we can't afford 60 canvases, but we wondered whether you could draw them on paper and we could put them on everybody's plate and all of this as they go into the reception. So for me, it was like, wow, okay. Can you send me a picture of, maybe let's just do a sample, send me a picture of your best man and your chief bridesmaid and let me have a go. So what transpired from that was they gave me that commission because they loved what I was doing. And she, and this is the story that I was telling Iona, and she's like, oh my God, you're just coming alive. You're just like, your whole face is like, she said, is this the story, about all the people that you've drawn? I'm like, well, I would really love to go back and reconnect with all of these people over the years and find out if they still have their portrait. Some of them have them in person because they bought them and they're in mounts and photograph frames. Some of them have them on their desktop. They have them digitally. Some of them don't. And I said, but I've drawn over 300 people, majority women, some men, families, couples. I'd really love to try and gather together a selection of that and tell the story, and find out if
it's the story behind the story. It's the story behind the face.
Yeah.
And then you could kind of tell the story of the story, and then their story that continues.
That's right.
Through them.
So their story is what made them want to be drawn.
Right.
Do they still look at it? Do they still have it? And if it has it made a difference? Not that it has to have made a difference, but is it still around?
Yeah.
And what? Not like a major interview or lots and lots of questions, but just sort of very simply. And I could really feel myself getting very, very excited about this whole prospect, because for me it was also about, as Iona was trying to get me to get that ding of a moment. She knew what it was, but she wanted me to get the ding. But what it was that I was actually reconnecting with myself over the 10 years that I've drawn people, because I can very much go back to what I was doing and where I was and all of that.
So in those 10 years, would you bring into anything else of where you were?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Because there's actually, next year will be 10 years.
Yeah.
When I went to France and rediscovered my art and started drawing faces in a very kind of, as you do, I'd never drawn faces before. I always avoided faces and portraits and people because they scared me. But I was in France and I was a little bit kind of out on a limb. I had no art supplies, and I typed in "inspire me" into Google, and Susie Blue came up. And Susie Blue is a mixed media artist from America, really quirky, very different. She just appealed to me. This is way before all the kind of online courses, and she really appealed to me. She had this very, very short online course that she ran, which was about 4 sessions on how to draw a real whimsical little face. And I thought, do you know what, that's brilliant, I'm going to do that. And I went off to the French art and design store and tried to get myself a sketchbook and pencils, and that's where it all began. And I started, and those particular drawings, I don't think I'd necessarily include them, but maybe they're very simple, of Julia trying to get it all together. And then
it might be interesting to show a variation of one Julia.
I think so.
And then like some of the ones.
I think you definitely see, and it proves the point that you have to practice, because you look at the faces that I did back then. They were very whimsical and mystical and fairy-like and not real. And then when I came back to the UK, to Liverpool, people started seeing them, and like a few people said to me, "Oh, do you think you could draw our family?" And I used to do it on canvas. And again, they were even more quirky than they are now, because I did them on canvas. But anyway, this was like this whole story, and Iona's going, "Oh wow, okay, this sounds like really a story." So I was like, "Oh my God." The following morning, I went to Tesco's and bought myself this Be a Dreamer notebook, and I was like, just, you know what it's like, and you know what it's like, and you're just like, oh, blah, 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 the 5 W's, my who, my what,
download.
Literally.
Yes.
Then I kind of went through, and remember, I'm not at home, I'm at my parents, so I had my laptop with me, but I didn't have a lot of time because I was constantly with them. So I'm like writing down instantly all the people that I'd love to connect with.
Mm-hmm.
And like wrote 4 pages of all these women and men, and then just kept going and kept going and kept going. And then went back over to my Facebook page, that I started in 2010 when I was in France, and looked at all the art that I was posting there from like 10 years ago, and all the comments that I was writing and the comments other people were writing. And it just became clearer and clearer that I wanted to go back and talk to people. And so from that, I've been communicating with a range of people.
Okay.
And I have 20 who want to be in there, who have responded really positively with, oh my God, I can't believe that you've just got in touch, because I've just moved studios and she's the first thing that's gone in there. And my portrait, I had at the bottom of the stairs. I used to say good morning to her every morning, and
it's a great idea. It's a great idea.
Yeah. So I've got these sort of 20 people. Some people are really up for being sort of interviewed. I mean, like
well, they're contributors, right?
Video. Yeah.
They're contributors. So you're telling your story by telling their story.
That's right.
Right. So
Yeah.
I'm just looking over some of the copy that you put in here. Like the book is about a 10-year journey drawing women around the world, with stars an adventure in France. Right. So you're telling people that these are people that are going to give feedback or give testimony, basically, and it's a collage of stories.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you first told the stories in picture form. Now you're writing about it. So when you go and approach people, you say, listen, this is, remember I drew you, but I'm writing a book now about, the last 10 years of drawing these faces of people around the world. And now I want to tell the stories of those faces.
And also because what will be included in the beginning, what will be, what is obviously how it began, but then because it evolved, it really did evolve.
Of course.
When I did the wedding, I wasn't channeling Reiki at that time. I was just really, really excited about drawing people. But then I went into the women's group and said, does anybody want me to draw them? Because I had a break of about 4 or 5 weeks. And that was when they all stepped forward and said, oh yeah, will you draw me? And that's the culmination of the colouring in book. And so that's where the whole journey really flipped, because I realised actually there was a healing being had, and that I was witnessing them in a different way, and they were witnessing each other, and I was kind of channeling and giving messages and things, and it was becoming something much more. And
So how many people are you intending to contact?
Well, I don't know, because I mean, obviously, if I want to put imagery in there as well, then it's going to be colour inside, which is going to really bump up the price.
Well, it depends on your page count. Okay, so if you have a book that's not got a spine, it's bound, but it's not got a spine, because your book to have a spine has to be 120 pages, 100 pages at least. So if you're under 100 pages and you're fine with, they can be represented in black and white, but this is more of a visual experience. Then the book itself may be under 100 pages, and then we can find out, once we decide on dimension size, we can plug in page count, dimension size, color versus black and white, and it will give you a cost per book.
And the thing that Iona said, which was really spot on, it was that she said it doesn't have to be too kind of hugely massive at all, because what it's doing is it's explaining the whole process, explaining who you are, and it's a therapeutic process that you've created, that ultimately you can bring together everything that you've really ever written about it into one place.
It's a great, and it will put you back into those times you're talking about your healing journey. It will remind you of those parts of your healing journey, and include some of that
Yeah.
in the book. So Beyond the Eyes, was that your kind of...
Yeah, I just came out. It's a working title at the moment, and it's because I was writing stuff, and it's because people had said things like, you know, the images that they were getting was that it was all about, it's always been about the eyes. Yeah. Everybody's always said that, and I've always felt that.
So Beyond the Eyes, I just wrote down Muse Portraits Come Alive.
Yeah.
You know, something about Muse Portraits, because that's what you call them, or if you still call them that, but something that gives people a little bit more information about what does Beyond the Eyes specifically mean for you.
Yeah, exactly. And also the wellness factor and the mindfulness factor and the calming and the healing and the soothing your soul factor that they invoke in the recipient is something that's really important to get across. Yeah. Because they're not just a caricature, they're not just a illustration. You know, they have, and as I said, as things have progressed, I've now integrated watercolors, and now I use my chakra balancing, and so I'm crystal bathing. You know, it's a real kind of healing process.
So you want to make sure that this is in this book, up front in this book. So this is almost like it's like a multi disciplinary type of book. So you're expressing one thing through visual art, but you're also going inside for the healing.
That's right.
So there's like there's more than one dimension. It's different layers in this book. So I like that a lot because it makes it unique, something that nobody else has done, and then we want to make sure that you express that at the front end of the book. So it's got a title and subtitle. They can change right up until the book goes into production. So it's really just
it's just something to keep you kind of
just to anchor you, you know.
I used to call it well, and I still do in some way, but and I've done a few since then. You know, I've done a couple of what I called soul portrait healing groups.
Okay.
I've gone through they've gone through different names. There used to be just an illustration. When I did the women's group, that's where soul portrait was born.
Okay.
And then it became soul portrait healing, and I used to have that domain name. I don't anymore. And then the muse came into it because a lot of people kept saying, and it kept shifting because it was about their inner muse that was coming out, because the portrait was inspiring to them. It was empowering. It gave them, you know, they used it in vision boards. It was used in therapy groups. There's people that I know that have bought the card deck that I created that use them in yoga sessions, in counseling and psychotherapy sessions, where, you know, the client picks a card. So that it kind of really gives that feeling of I can do this, and it's quite empowering. So that's where muse came into it.
Yeah.
And then the mantra has always sort of been part of it. But then I in the group I used to call it Muse Mantra Medicine.
Okay.
Because of the medicine that they were getting.
So these are all important phraseology that will make its way into back cover copy, intro copy, whatnot. But when you think of things like that, as you think of them, write them down, because they're important. We'll come back to them. They'll fit in somewhere. We don't have to know where that is now.
No.
Right? But you have your pathway.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'll just sort of just finish off that by just saying that I felt that the chapter headings would be the mantra of the person.
Okay.
So, for instance, one of the ladies is called Jan, and her mantra was, I am totally at peace with myself.
Okay.
So I've written down, not everybody had a mantra. So, you know, there was people early on that I drew the portrait, and they didn't actually have the mantra at the time. So it will all work its way out. I mean, so
Yeah.
much has happened in 2 weeks anyway that I feel that
I think it's great. And it just goes to show you that you have to listen to what you're being, what the inspiration is that's coming to and through you. Because we cannot get stuck on outcomes. We cannot get stuck on, this is the way I said or thought it was going to be, when you're clearly being led in another direction.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So, and when you least expect it, you're going to get inspiration that's going to apply to something. You go, well, where does that fit? I don't know, but I know I'm getting that download. So I'll put it over here until I figure out where it goes.
Well, that's exactly what I've done, because in this book, I'm just literally, if I get something and I don't know where it fits in, I just put it
in the book.
I put it on a blank page and I think, okay, I'll go back to that.
So that's how I live every moment of my life. Everything that gets downloaded gets recorded, and some days feel like they're very, very full with that. But it's what co-creation is. You're always in the creative mode, and you don't have to understand it all, but you know instinctively when there's something that you've just heard that needs to be remembered.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And I have to thank Iona big time, big styly, because she just, it just was so.
When the student is ready, the teacher appears, my dear.
The unicorns were working for us, because we both just, we just both went, blah, 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 and she was like, blah, 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 blah. One of them.
Iona.
One of them. She was amazing.
Oh, that's so good. That's the power of a mastermind. I love that. I'm just going to unmute Isabel. Isabel, do you have any thoughts about, hang on, unmute you. Maybe you can unmute you at your end.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on our discussion?
Yeah, first, I would like to say that it's very inspiring to see you, Julia, unfolding what the book is about. And I really loved all the titles I saw in the contents. So I think it's going to be really amazing. And it's lovely to hear that you work a bit with Iona, to get some inspiration and go on with your book. So yeah, it was a real pleasure just to listen to you unfolding that.
Oh, thank you.
Witnessing was amazing. Yeah.
That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
So,
all started in here,
So it gave me some more energy, to come back into my book and tune in and see what's happening or what's changed, maybe because of the trip to Cuba, maybe. Yeah. I don't know what happened there. It was like a big odyssey and it was not very comfortable. So I'm still trying to integrate what happened there. There was nothing dangerous or something like that, but just it wasn't what I expected. So
okay.
I learned a lot.
Did you go on holiday there?
No, I was attending a retreat with Chen Lizra, which is somebody who is working on somatic intelligence. Yeah. We did a lot of exercise during 1 week, 8 days. We were in the studio and we were working on our posture, elegance, sabrosura, which is a kind of sensual art of relationships. And it was very interesting, but at the same time, I was expecting something like we had in the Jodie event, with a lot of love beneath, a lot of connection with people. And it was very hard to do some connection at first with the people. It took me 3 days to connect with the other women.
What was the group size, Isabel?
There were 17, so it was not such a big group. I think that what happened is that before the trip, there were no Facebook groups, so we could not introduce ourselves. Just to know what we were supposed to talk about, and we didn't set any intention before doing all the work.
It's true what you say. It's true because every retreat, pretty much every retreat that I've ever attended has had community built before retreat.
Yeah.
right? Whether it's Brendan Burchard or Tony Robbins or whatever, we've got a Facebook group. We're all interacting. And there's that anticipation of, oh my God, well, JTW, same thing. I mean, right? Like you're going to teach some stuff and I'm attending. And before we got there, we knew who one another kind of were. So it kind of broke the ice. So you don't have to do that en place, you know?
I think it's very important indeed to let people just introduce themselves, know where they are from, what they are doing in life, and why they are coming to this femininity retreat. What are we talking about? And we didn't have this space. So in the first, circle, people just had to say one word, which is really not enough, to meet people. Yeah. So I felt a lot alone, disconnected. It was even difficult for me just to connect to my higher guidances.
Feel resistance.
Yeah, it was very strange, and at the same time I had some issue at the airport when I arrived. My luggage had been lost, and then I had some issue with my telephone company, and I had to pay 300 euros at first, and then it became bigger. We were not allowed to use our phone during the retreat, so we couldn't take any picture, because she wanted to have a control on the photo. I couldn't contact my boyfriend and my family. So for 1 week, when you have 4 children.
Really? Even after a day's events, even in your own time?
After I could, but the problem was that because of the problem I had with my telephone company, my line had been blocked. So I couldn't contact them. And then I missed my flight to come back because I was so disoriented that with the jet lag, I, misunderstood the date of my departure. Yeah. So I was very upset, very disappointed, and quite panicked because I couldn't, just tell my boyfriend that I won't be at the airport and train. When I only had one emergency phone to call, and it was Henley's phone. And when I phoned her, she just told me, it's okay, it's just another night in Cuba, just enjoy, just relax. I was in a shock, and I was supposed to process the emotion because this is what she was talking about for the whole week. Yeah. But she was like, no, just relax, just take a mojito and everything will be all right. So I was like,
that's not what you were looking for.
No, that's not the kind of teacher I would love to work with, for a long time. But it was very interesting to learn from her because, by the way, she was very professional on posture, elegance, and so on. But something was missing with the love beneath, the energy beneath. Something was missing in the connection. Since I'm just trying to come back. And the more I come back to my energy, the more it gets easier. Yeah. But because of all the money I lost during the trip, and I didn't work because I was in Cuba, so I need now to do some offers and to get some more clients because I need to rebalance my financial account.
Of course.
So that's why also I didn't dive into my my book because I needed to do something in my business area first and then coming back to it. But next week I will be on holiday in a beautiful island, so I will take my computer and surely I will have time just to come back into it and see what happened because I feel that it's very important for me to write in French all about the essence, business aligned, all this stuff because there are no much book at the moment about that. Right. There are some few books in French, but not so much in France. Maybe in Canada, I don't know, but in France we don't have much books around that.
Okay. So, well, listen, I'm going to go to your document that we had originally. So we're still using this one.
Yeah.
Okay. For the moment. Have you? This is all. This stays the same for now.
Yeah, for the moment, it's temporary because indeed I didn't channel the title yet. So, but okay. It's talking about aligning to our essence. So, I began to write about a few things, which are there.
Yeah.
And then since the call I were attending last time, I wrote about my own story, my personal story. So
Okay.
what was happening for me, why did I do all my journey, and why I'm talking about Essence right now. But it's a long journey because I have to talk about all the situation I had to face, like sexual abuse, divorce, and things like that. And it's not in that document yet because I didn't know where to put it.
So the best thing I can tell you is go up here somewhere. When you think of ideas like divorce, like abuse, different.
Okay.
Like what do I want to make sure I don't leave out, as opposed to what do I want to include? Like the things that are sure bets that you want in the manuscript. You don't have to have anything written about them. You don't have to, because it's in your head. You don't have to have paragraphs. You don't have to have story. You just want to have bullet points, just like I did with Julia before, just kind of taking note of, okay, I want to include divorce. I want to include abuse. I want to include that time, back in, 2002. Like just mark, just anywhere. Just drop them in here so you don't forget. Because when we're in the process of writing book, we're in motion with it constantly. And our life experiences, because of course what we think about shows up in our life experience, right? Our life experience is the mirror of our thoughts. So if our thoughts are in a certain way, and then our emotions are in that certain way, and then the events that show up in a certain way, at certain points you want to say to yourself, what is it that I'm meant to learn here? Because some people don't write books. When they don't write books, it has nothing to do with them procrastinating, and it's because the lessons that life has for you to learn that are meant to go in the book have not been learned yet.
Yeah.
So, people often will say to me, I've been writing this book for like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and I haven't done it. And they start giving themselves a hard time. But chances are they're prompted to do it now because of something that happened in their life, or they're at that kind of decision-making time. And chances are if they would have written the book 10 years prior, it wouldn't have been the book it's meant to be because you hadn't learned what you've learned. So it could be this experience in Cuba, or different experiences are meant to go. Like, Julia had an idea. She wanted to write a book about something, but she wasn't quite on it. It was there, but it's got to feel like this is it.
Yeah.
So it took it took an off-road. Like, it took a bit of a detour, and that detour brought me clarity.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to be very careful about all this detour because I may do some. Yeah. But what I noticed is that I had a lot of resistances about writing my own story.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So
very, very, very common, which is why people don't write books, because they get to that place, they feel that resistance, and they don't move through it.
Yeah, right? But curiously, it's like telling my own story would be another book indeed. It's not exactly the same, I feel that I have to tell about my story but not going into the details because I think that it will be a subject for another book. My essence and guidances are more about telling about how to overcome difficult emotion and go on. So I think that I will come back to my story during the process of writing the guidances. But first I have to introduce what was my story, in few lines, and then coming back to it.
You'll want to include it. It's essential it be included. And it's the one thing that you're going to kind of resist doing. But you can't write a book without your story in it because nobody will connect.
Yeah.
A reader wants to know who you are, what you're about. They want to know they can trust you. They want to know that your emotions are similar to their emotions. They want to be able to walk into your shoes. And that requires us to get super vulnerable.
Yeah, that's why I decided to write the story and trying to do it first and after the guidances, just to help people with me and see that I'm owning what I'm doing actually. I'm not, I'm just not like, oh, okay, I'm birthed and now I know everything. No, it's because I had a lot of things to process and still have some things to process, that I'm able to go so deep and give the lesson behind. So
yeah, so you be patient with that process, because you can't rush a river. So you're gonna move through it at the pace that you're gonna move through it. But what's important is when you feel that inspiration, when you're channeling, when that information is coming to you. Sometimes we go, oh, okay, well, it's not really convenient right now. Yeah, I'll remember. I'll keep it over. You won't remember.
Yeah.
Okay. So make sure that a notepad, your phone, recording device, something is with you all the time, because once you've decided that you're writing that book, you will get inspired, but you have no control over the time frame.
Okay.
Okay. So capture the downloads, capture the inspired thoughts, because they're important. They're meant for you.
Yeah, I did a few handwriting in Cuba at the beginning of the stay, and then I had nothing else, so I just let it go. But I had some few papers, flying papers all around, so I keep them. Yeah.
Well, Cuba is always an interesting place. They don't have great connectivity with Wi-Fi and all that kind of thing. So chances are, she purposefully did it that way, because otherwise it would have been too frustrating. The connectivity is not good there.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah. So I mean, there's ways around it, but she made a choice. There's a lot more retreats that are kind of going that direction, where they want people to unplug. It's tough to change a habit cold turkey though, like that.
But it's also because Cubans, their own way to behave in the streets, and because they don't have any connectivity with internet and phones, because most of them are very poor, they are very good at relationships, connecting with the eyes, with the body language. So that's why she wanted it to be in Cuba, because she learned a lot about that. But at the same time, it was quite challenging, and I regretted not having my computer with me, or having some more things, just to dive in and write. I wrote a few, but not enough. So.
Yeah, so it is what it is. I mean, it was meant to be that way, or it would have been different. So that's all good. Whereabouts were you in Cuba? Were you in Havana?
In Havana, but I didn't like Havana. I would have wished, to go all around Havana in the countryside. Havana was very noisy, and the smell was very strong. It was quite difficult to breathe at the beginning of the stay. So it was an experience.
I was just going to say, took the words right out of my mouth.
And now I'm back, and I have a lot of work to do with the event I'm organizing in November. Still, holding the hand of my book, going through the process. So.
Well, we hold space for it here. So, if you can't get on the call, like I've said to everybody else, there's a recording that you can go and get inspired by, and share in everyone else's movement forward. But there is no, oh, we're past that stage now. You just hop back in, you do the work on your own, you come back in. If you need any guidance in between, I put it in the Facebook group. Just reach out for like a laser coaching. If you have a question, don't be shy, put it in the Facebook group, because the process is not linear, So it's unrealistic to think that it just moves forward in a way that's predictable. It's an emotional experience. So I'm here if you need any of that kind of support.
Yeah. But it was very cool just to come back into the call. So here I am.
Happy to have you.
Let's see what happens.
Excellent. Well, that's good. That's good. It's all good. You're moving forward. So that's all that matters. We just keep moving forward.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I'll turn this back. So Julia, do you have any other questions or anything you want to cover?
Well, am I still muted? Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can.
No, I was like nodding my head a lot, listening to Isabel and your experiences in Cuba, and like things have changed for me within the last 2 weeks. I think I'm pretty much testament to the fact that it's going to change, and that's, you know, we are where we are, aren't we?
Yep.
We
it's the
are
author's odyssey. It's
so,
a journey. You're very different when you publish a book. You're different than when you started the process. It's a growth process. It's a transformation process, and that's why the guidance is so important, because otherwise it's like, you know, you get into the process and go, oh no, I feel this, I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. I think I'll just put it over here.
Yeah.
And then it never actually gets done. So, there's a little bit of hand-holding along the way, because it's an emotional time frame that you've got to kind of navigate. But then you've got a group that can support you too. So that's really important as well.
And that's and so I'm glad that you're back here again, because it's good for you to just be back in and
plug back in.
Yeah. That's really valuable. I haven't had an opportunity to listen to last week's call, but I'll hopefully get that chance tomorrow.
Okay. Well, it's right there.
Look forward to that.
The recording is there, and you know, sometimes it's just something someone says. Gives you like a spark of inspiration. You go, I never thought of it that way. I think I might have tried that. I know that Iona was listening to last week's call, and she was all off in that. Oh my gosh, that was just so much fun to listen to. I was working with Elizabeth quite a bit last week, and she saw that was great to listen to what Elizabeth had to say. So you know, you're all on individual journeys, but together, you know, you're lifting each other up, which is, you know, that's what I call the power of the mastermind. That's always really, really good. Yeah.
I have felt, because I went out and bought a dedicated book, which I didn't do for Rebalance Me, because I'd had so much already. Having this one sort of pink thing now, it's like
it's your home base.
Any idea. And although I did have a book for Rebalance Me, it was actually the book that I had, funnily enough, it's just occurred to me, it's actually the book that I bought in France 10 years ago, where I began to write down the whole thing about healing me, healing you. And so opening that up also opens up the sort of experience of when I was there. So in theory, I should get another one of these, you know, get something that's individual, because now I just, any idea,
put it in there.
I grab it, I take it with me in different rooms, and I think if something, like I listened to You Can Heal Your Life, the video, the Louise Hay video, which I've had from since 2007, and not having any broadband, I revisited all my DVDs. So I watched Mary Poppins and Jungle Book and Mamma Mia, and what else did I watch? Bedknobs and Broomsticks, all the classics. Because I had no, you know, I had no great grazing time on YouTube or Netflix or anything like that. And so I have this You Can Heal Your Life. And so she talks a lot about affirmations.
Yes.
And obviously that, as you said, Carolyn, you were saying, you know, anything that you hear that is relevant, whether it's outside or inside of yourself.
It's meant for you.
So I've got a whole little bit of a spiel about what Louise Hay says about affirmations, because I think that's very relevant with the whole, what is the meaning behind saying a mantra stroke affirmation.
Oh, listen, I remember studying at the Chopra Center, and there was a whole ceremony around getting your personal mantra. Right, and it was, you know, based on with the moment you were born and your name and all of that. And then they did this whole ceremony. You go into this room and you have your person and you have this meditation and this whole ceremony. And then they give you this card on like this gold plate. And
wow!
And you open I still have it on my lanyard from the time that I spent there. And in the back is tucked in, and they've got in script your name on the front, and on the inside there's your personal mantra, but it's all done so ceremoniously that it's so important.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and you feel really good. So now when you meditate, you have this mantra connects you to your birth time and your birth year and all of that. So there's power behind that.
That's beautiful. And that's the anchor, isn't it? That's the anchor to the experience. And that's a very good word that I haven't used that I need to include, anchoring, because
or North Star, or something that guides you. And affirmations, I do a life script, an as if life script. And in the workbook that I brought to JTW, there is the as if life script in there.
Yeah.
Affirmations work very much the same way. You're affirming something to be true, even if it isn't true yet.
No.
Because it's acting as if. So you're wanting to say, you know, I'm so happy and grateful now that my book is on the bestseller list, for example. And the reason behind that is that you're basically walking into your future self, but you're telling your brain what you want it to believe is already happening. And that's when the dots start to connect, right? You're walking. So it's important when you're writing affirmations to affirm things that you want to believe about yourself that are, and reaffirming them, and things that you want to change. You write an affirmation that's the opposite to what you currently are at. So you're basically changing your brain to believe in what you want it to believe.
And that's so what Louise Hay, what she said was, take the topic and write down everything that you tell yourself that is horrendous and negative. And
then the opposite.
And then flip the sentence.
Yep.
And then create the affirmation. So I actually did that, and I wrote 3 pages about money and finances, and just everything came out. And then I flipped it all and rewrote the sentence in the positive, in the present, in the now. And then what I did was I played a little bit of a track on YouTube
recorded it
times and recorded myself.
Yep. That's one of the best.
Notes.
Do it. That's a Bob Proctor strategy. That's because especially when you hear it in your own voice.
In your own voice.
Super powerful. Put it on the loop.
Yeah, absolutely. And she said that she said when people say to me, "Oh, affirmations aren't working," and I ask them, well,
how long do you write them?
How many times a day are you doing those ones about money? Oh, well, I do them 3 times. I've done them 3 times. And she says, well, and how many times did you do your poverty ones? You know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. You know, back in school when you did something the teacher didn't want you to do and she made you write lines.
Write lines, yeah. I do that that is the classic thing that I have always done, is write the same sentence over and over.
Power of repetition. It's so I mean, that's the way that anybody who's achieved any amount of success has used all these principles. Visioneering, as Sandy Gallagher calls it, or visualizing, but visualizing in the present tense as if it's happening right now. But then you want to get emotionally attached to that feeling. You want to see it, you want to smell it, you want to taste it. And if it was a home, you'd live in it, and you'd furnish it, and you'd know exactly where everything goes. And you know, your friends would be coming, and you'd be having a dinner, and you'd be talking like you are
in
acting as if you have it right now. And trust me, it must manifest into your life by law. Okay. Now I teach Sunday mornings, as you know. I teach the universal laws and the Kabbalion and all the texts that teach universal laws. And this happens by law. So if we follow the laws and we govern ourselves within, and we live that way, and we do these things, what you're seeking is seeking you. You just need to connect to the energy of it, to the frequency of it. Right? If what you want is on this frequency, then your thinking is not going to make it so if it's in a lower vibration. So you've got to rise up to meet it. And that's what affirmations help you do. And gratitude and appreciation, all of those things, they raise your vibrational energy, and then you feel good. And when you feel good, that's when all the magic happens.
Yeah.
Right. So these are all strategies that if you do them once or twice, you can say, yeah, I did that. That's great. But that's not how this stuff works.
No.
You know, it's a regular practice. It's practice, repeat, practice, practice.
Yeah. It's like anything, isn't it, really? I suppose if you want to learn the piano, then you don't just, play the piano once and then expect to be able to play a tune.
Well, I equate it a lot to like athletics. Somebody who aspires to be an Olympian, they don't go to practice. Maybe, they go to the pool early for a few weeks, or they go and they practice their sport. They visualize what it feels like to stand on the podium as a winner. And then they work that backwards, and then they take action on all the habits that they need to put in place and do that consistently, repetitively, because that's how success happens. Success leaves clues. Like there are ways, there are high performance habits, but the average person who's not really fully conscious or aware of it, they think that if they do it once or twice, that's how, there is no magic pill. Right? It's practice. But that's how you get to write a book. You practice. That's how you get anywhere. That's how you get those drawings. Look at you with the drawings. And over time, you practice it more and more, and you refined it and got better and better and better.
Yeah.
Indeed, this is what we worked about in Cuba, but not also about affirmation. It was also about posture. Because when we are holding the posture, we have some stamina into the body, and then our brain is changing his mind and, going in a more positive way. So each time we feel like less than everything, not enough, and we are behaving like that, we have just to stand up. Shoulders back.
It's true. It's all your physiology. It all works together, but your mind, your body is an instrument of your mind. So you start changing the way you think. Everything else starts following. Your body follows it through. You're thinking differently, and then your emotions feel differently, and you behave differently, and then you're going to get different results. So we have to master our mind. We have to master our thoughts. We've got to be picky about what we think about, because we can go down that rabbit hole really easy.
Yeah, definitely.
So when you know that, then that's negative thought repetition. That will take you to places that don't serve you. But by the same token, you have total control over your thoughts. So you got to decide, how long do I want to stay in that place that I don't really feel good in? And when you know that you can shift yourself out of there with gratitude, appreciation, you can focus on what you want versus what you don't want. You have the master key. Right? You have it within yourself. So once you learn the strategies that work best for you, you don't have to worry about, like, the law of rhythm will take you in and out and up and down, like the ocean comes in and out, but when you know how to master your mind, you'll never be down for long.
No.
Right? You'll dip, but you'll come right back up, because you know that feeling like that is not going to help you or serve you.
Yeah. Totally. Totally.
Isabel's language.
Yep.
Who was leading your workshop, Isabel?
The workshop in Cuba?
Yeah.
It's Chen Lizra. Her name is Chen and Lizra, and she did a TED talk in Canada a few years ago.
Okay.
About seduction and how body language can, do something in the business world.
It's always fun to know what other people are passionate about.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's from Israel. Yeah, and she loves Cuba because, she's like half. She looks like half Cuban, more Cuban than a Cuban people.
Yeah. She's at home there, clearly.
What was very interesting thing is that she was talking about body language. It's different. The way we behave is different from the place where we live. And she said that when she was living in Canada, sometimes it was quite difficult after a TED talk. It was supposed to bring her a lot of fame and success, but a lot of people just hated intervention in the TED. And she shared only a bit about her story, her business story, and I was quite disappointed in this point because she upgraded the retreat, telling that it was for change maker and feminine leaders and to support everybody. But indeed, we didn't talk about feminine leadership at all, except for 1.5 an hour when she was explaining her experience during the TED and how she used a sabrosura to convince the people to trust her. So I was quite disappointed about this part because I think that witnessing in people pathway is very, inspiring.
And it starts with yours.
And that's what I wanted also to know.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's what I was saying about the book. That's the thing, that readers will be disappointed if they don't know more. Like, they'll feel cheated. It's like,
Yeah.
I need to know who this author is. I need to feel like, okay, I can read this book because I feel a connection to him or her. And
yeah,
that's our responsibility. That's often the toughest part, but that's okay. We move through that. We figure that out, and we get that part achieved in a way that's comfortable for you. But it's an essential part of your book
yeah,
part, you know, because it's part of your story and it's part of their story, because now you're in a relationship with the reader.
yeah.
Yeah, so they want to
Yeah,
connect.
that's why I really commit into my personal story, and then I will see what will unfold, because I think that it's essential so people just
Oh yeah.
know. And indeed, like a lot of people, I had a lot of, adventure. People say that it's like a Netflix series when I'm talking about my stories, because I can explain what happened for me, but as I'm very sensitive, I can also explain what happened for them all around, for all the characters. So it's like a series, and I have a lot to tell about that. But yeah.
Well, you'll have a book. You'll have a book to tell it.
Yeah.
And the thing that's just popped into my mind as you were talking about your experiences in Cuba is it's actually how valuable to have that real experience of what you don't want to create in your retreat.
Yeah. I think since 2 years, nearly each retreat or conference I've been attending was like just showing me that I was quite a master in my work, and it was now my role to do a retreat and do something.
Exactly.
Except the GP Weekender, which were absolutely amazing and exactly the kind of vibe I want to bring in France, and just sharing. And so this is exactly what I want to do. Khanizra and some other people are exactly what I don't want to do. So.
Hey, that's just the value of knowing what you don't want, is the contrast to know what you do want. So that's what you get to focus on. And that's what these things are delivered to us for a reason. They show up as disappointment, but really, we got to be grateful for all of it.
Yeah, and I think that there is a lesson about money, because I lost a lot of money. And this retreat was quite expensive. Usually I cannot afford this kind of prices, but it was a present from my boyfriend. It was interesting to see what she put inside this, this content, these containers, sorry. So now I know that if I'm launching a retreat, I will be very careful about, that everything is quite fair for everything.
And clear.
Fair or clear or transparent.
Right? Yeah. Well, transparency is my word. That's my favorite
value
word.
plus transparency. And just feel what there is exactly behind,
Yeah, because we want to over deliver, right?
Yeah.
That's what we want to do. We want to create, we're creating relationships with clients, whether they're at a retreat or they're on a Zoom call, or you're on a one-to-one, or what you're on. You're investing in the success of your client. So you want to be over delivering, not under delivering. And value, price is only ever an issue in the absence of value. So if you're creating a retreat and it's got a certain investment price point, you got to be sure that they're going to get that value, but then some.
Yeah.
That they're going to want to continue their relationship with you. You don't want to disappoint, which is that feeling that you had, that now you don't want that for anybody that's coming to your retreat. So sounds like there's a lot of different moments for you that are helpful in your own journey with creating your own events.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think that I brought a fear of not being able to do something better. So I still have to process this fear and be very careful and very precise. And usually I'm not very precise in what I'm doing. So I need to learn that precision. So everything will be very, well calibrated for people, with the price, with the place.
Well calibrated. Great expression.
Yeah. So
sounds like you learned a lot.
Yeah. I think that this year is about learning a lot, and I'm still learning at least until November, because I have a lot to do and to learn right now.
Yeah.
But I'm on the track. I'm on the track and I'm doing my job, and we'll see what will happen. I have to trust.
You have to trust, and then know that, as far as book writing is concerned, like life writes the extraordinary story. So you're tuned into the fact that you're writing your book in real time.
Yeah.
It's not about sitting down with a pen and paper, sitting at a computer. It's about being aware of the content that is coming to you every day that will become part of a manuscript.
Yeah.
It's not a linear process. So you want to be aware and then be ready to receive, ready to allow this information in, record it. And it doesn't matter if it doesn't fit the outline you currently have. If you go, what is that? It's because it's part of what the book is meant to be that you haven't become aware of yet. So you just want to record it. No matter if it makes sense, doesn't make sense, it doesn't matter. You can always say later, no, you know what, I don't know where that came, it doesn't really fit, it doesn't feel right, and then you can let it go. But until then, make sure you record it and keep it all in one place.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Perfect.
My lovely ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. It's great to meet with you. I love that. I love how it all flows, and you're both like moving forward beautifully. So
thank you.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
All being well, see you next week.
See you next week.
Yeah.
I'll post a recording in the group.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a good week, everyone.
Have a great week. Bye for now.
Bye.